This regular city council meeting of the Oak Park City Council is called to order June 20th, 2020. Would Clerk Norris, would you call the roll?
Yes, Mayor McClellan.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Burns.
Yes.
Councilmember Radner.
Here.
Councilmember Weiss
Here.
and Councilmember Edgar.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. Item 3, approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Radner and Mayor Pro Tem Burns. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Next, item 4 on the agenda is the consent agenda. These are routine items presented as a single item. Regular council meeting minutes. Regular council meeting minutes of January 6, 2020. Parks and Recreation Commission meeting minutes, February 19th. Planning Commission meeting minutes of June 8th. Licenses, new and renewals submitted for July 20th, 2020. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, that's Edgar and Weiss. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. We have a visiting elected official, our Oakland County Commissioner Helene Zach. Well,
Thank you. Thank you for an opportunity to speak. I'm going to go fast because I have a lot to tell. First of all, I do want to refer residents to the Oakland County website, www.oakgov.com/COVID. At the bottom left-hand corner, if you push grants, there are a multitude of grant opportunities to help residents with COVID funding. There's housing assistance there. We have roughly $8 million to help people with rental, mortgage, utility bills, and the link is there. There's money for veteran services, again, housing grants, other resources. Economic recovery, we've done 2. This is the 3rd round of help for small businesses. This is targeting small businesses that have been closed longer, such as fitness, personal services. And along with this opportunity, we have business coaches and legal services to help small businesses get back on their feet. That's there as well. We're doing some other initiatives to help students get back to school. Oakland County is hiring 68 public health nurses for school systems to talk about how do you practice COVID, safety. We also are going to be working with Beaumont Health System. They're going to run an early morning, like sick call, 5 to 8 in the morning. If parents think that their child is sick, they'll be able to access nurse practitioners in that early morning call. Other things that we're doing a lot on safe voting initiatives. Oakland County purchased a couple of high-speed absentee ballot voting machines. We're working with about a third of the cities, villages, and townships. I hope that Oak Park's one of them, to help count the votes. Already, I am told that there are more absentee voter ballots out than there were voters in the last primary. So we're going to have a tremendous upswell of voting, and this is to expedite processing. We're concerned about having enough poll workers. The average age of a poll worker across Oakland County is 74, that fall into the vulnerable population. So we have authorized an incentive of $50 a poll worker, and there's initiatives in recruiting people that can work polls. There also was an initiative, a committee that was formed, chaired by one of the commissioners, Kristen Nelson, to study senior isolation and what can we do about it. And one of the initiatives coming from that will be some funding for senior centers. And I think it's roughly, hopefully about $50,000 coming to different cities. Testing is still ongoing. And then last week, we had our official budget presentation from our county exec, and it is different this year. One of the things that we've done historically was that we budgeted fund balance into our budget, using it to balance the budget. And we no longer want to do that. So we've tightened our belts, and we are, moving forward using our fund balance as a rainy day fund for one-time purchases rather than balancing the budget. I am the chair of finance committee, so we're starting budget hearings this Wednesday. And I do want to just close. There's a lot of misinformation floating around the community. And I just want to let you know, as chair of finance, Oakland County is not millions of dollars in debt. We are very fiscally responsible. We have balanced budget for the next 3 years. There was also concerns that we've laid off employees. Frankly, we've invested a lot of money on hazard pay, which has been wonderful to take care of our employees. And we did furlough some staff early May, particularly our court staff that aren't needed because we are doing, we don't need the greeters. But those staff that have been furloughed are totally covered on the 2 unemployment. We're covering all the benefits. We are working on trying to get court operations going and how do you do it safely and so forth, bringing employees back to work. So there's lots more if you look at the website on grant information and how to access. And if anybody has any questions, any residents out there, I'm happy to help. 248-546-7392. Any questions? Thank you.
You've been busy.
Yeah.
Item 10 is, are there any other elected officials that we missed? Item 10 is accounting reports. We need approval for payment of invoices submitted by Garen Luco Miller, PC, for legal services in the total amount of $16,855.23. Is there a motion to approve payment?
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem, and is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Weiss. Discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Burns,
Yes.
Councilmember Edgar,
Yes.
Mayor McClellan,
Yes,
Councilmember Radner,
Yes.
Councilmember Weiss.
Yes.
motion carried. Number 11 is bids. There's a request to award the bid for the 2020 Catch Basin Line Replacement Project M712 to Great Lakes Contracting Solutions in the amount of $197,597.75, and to further request that funding that was not utilized in the 2019-20 budget from the Water and Sewer Fund, number 592-18-550-970, to be utilized for this expenditure. Is there a motion to award this bid and to request the funding?
So moved.
Second.
Weiss and Radner, thank you. Is there discussion or questions? Roll call, please.
Oh, Madam Mayor, sorry.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
I was just curious if we researched the winning bid and if we've got references for them.
Yes, thank you.
That's Assistant City Manager Kevin Yee.
Thank you. Yes, we have. We have not worked with Great Lakes in the past. And so we did thoroughly conduct a review of the references, and all stated that they did great work. So we're actually pretty excited to have a new vendor come in, a new contractor to come in, and hopefully it's one that does a good job, and we have another good contractor for our list.
Right. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Edgar,
Yes.
Mayor McClellan,
Yes.
Councilmember Radner,
Yes.
Councilmember Weiss,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Burns.
Yes.
Motion carried. Brings us down to item 12, which is ordinances. There are 3 first readings today. The first one is first reading of an ordinance to amend the City of Oak Park zoning ordinance, Article 18, signs, Section 1805, 1807, and 1814, that would correct reference errors and add regulations. We need a motion to approve the first reading.
So moved.
That's Mayor Pro Tem Burns. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Weiss. Can we have just a summary? Perhaps City Manager Eric Tungate, can you just summarize what's on this one?
Madam Mayor, if it's okay, I'm actually going to ask Director Maroney to summarize this one. Do we have her, Kim?
Thank you, Eric. Yes, this is to correct some reference errors when we amended the ordinance back in November. So it's making those corrections, and then it's also adding an additional restriction on temporary size limitations of a maximum of 6 square feet. And those are for the temporary signs that do not require a permit through our ordinances.
Are there questions or discussion about this ordinance? Clerk Norris? Do we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Mayor McClellan,
Yes.
Councilmember Radner,
Yes.
Councilmember Weiss,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Burns,
Yes.
Councilmember Edgar.
Yes.
Okay, my motion carried. Item B is first reading of an ordinance to amend the City of Oak Park zoning ordinance, Article 17, General Provisions, Section 1709, outdoor dining that would allow for decorative lighting in outdoor dining uses. First, we need a motion and a second.
So moved.
That's Mayor Pro Tem. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Councilmember Edgar. I wonder, would that be Director Kim Maroney? Would that be something, did you discuss this one?
Yes, this is a simple amendment to our current outdoor dining ordinance. In the past, it did not allow for outdoor ambient lighting. This will allow us to let restaurants have their outdoor dining lighting. For instance, the Edison lights, which you've always dreamed of, Mayor, and all of your State of the City addresses.
Yes.
So this just corrects an error that we never allowed it.
Right. So those little twinkling lights that the restaurants have to make the atmosphere friendly, and sounds lovely. Any discussion? Questions? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Radner,
Yes.
Councilmember Weiss,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Burns,
Yes.
Councilmember Edgar,
Yes.
and Mayor McClellan.
Yes. Motion carried. That brings us to item 12C, first reading of an ordinance to amend the City of Oak Park zoning ordinance, R1, Family Dwelling District, to address public and private recreational uses. So before we discuss, we need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem, first and second.
Second.
Radner is second. Thank you. Director Maroney, can you explain? I think this is basically to allow this 9-mile parklet. Can you discuss that one?
Yes, this not only allows us to do parklets in our residential zones, All parks are zoned R1, which is our residential district. It also puts a little more restrictions in regards to who can create parks. Non-commercial uses, entities outside of the city of Oak Park, if they wanted to put something, a park into one of the residential lots, it requires them to go through a special land use process. And then also allows us to notify all the residents within the area and gives them additional restrictions on how they could create a park in their residential districts.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion or questions for Director Maroney? Given that there are none.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I had a
Oh,
question.
go
Sorry.
ahead. Jump
Couldn't
in.
unmute myself for a minute. So for the lighting for parks and all parks are in R1 zoned areas. Is there restrictions in terms of what that lighting can be, or is it just any lighting?
The lighting was the previous ordinance that we just approved for outdoor dining.
Okay, so like the Edison bulb type lighting.
Yeah,
Okay.
this ordinance is a little different in that it gives some additional restrictions if a non-government entity wanted to put in a park in one of our residential lots.
Okay, thank you.
So Madam Mayor, I also have a question about this. The proposed amendment to the zoning ordinance requiring a special land use permit or designation. So does that mean when it says private non-commercial recreational areas, I don't know what that means exactly. What does that mean? Like if somebody wants to do a pocket park on a lot, or somebody wants to put a pool in their backyard, what does this refer to? Nonprofit swimming pools, I don't understand what that would be, what that would look like.
Yeah, so an entity that wanted to do something on an undeveloped lot in the community. For instance, there was a resident who recently wanted to put a dog park on a residential lot. This would require us to do additional restrictions in doing the special land use. So it would essentially notify everybody within 300 feet of that particular lot and give them notification and an opportunity to voice their concerns.
So nonprofit swimming pools, what does that look like? Has that come up ever?
It has not come up, no. I would not foresee that being a problem unless the residents in the neighborhood thought it would be a nuisance.
Further
thank you.
questions? Any other questions before we vote? Roll call, please. Clerk Norris.
Councilmember Weiss,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Burns,
Yes.
Councilmember Edgar,
Yes.
Mayor McClellan,
Yes,
and Councilmember Radner.
Yes.
motion carries unanimously. Item D. This is first reading of an ordinance to amend much discussed section 62-42, chapter 62, article 2, division 1, burning of the Code of Ordinances, City of Oak Park, that would remove the broad prohibition against outdoor burning to allow portable outdoor fireplaces using clean woods and to require annual permits for campfires, open burning, or recreational fires as defined by the International Fire Protection Code of 2015. We need first a motion and a second.
So moved.
That's Councilmember Weiss.
Weiss.
And is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Councilmember Edgar. City Manager Eric Tungate, would you discuss all of the changes? There was some question about the posting of the meeting, and some residents weren't aware of the 5:30 meeting. So can you just go through what was discussed on this topic?
Madam Mayor, I think it would probably, I'd be happy to, but I think it would actually be more appropriate for our city attorney, Courtney Cross,
Sounds
to
good.
go through that. Courtney, I don't know if you want to underline some of the major things, but
Currently, the City of Oak Park ordinance prohibits any type of open burning. The proposed amendment to the ordinance would allow open burning for the specific circumstances of portable fireplaces, as well as specifically delineated recreational fires. We are not requiring a permit under the current draft of the ordinance for the portable fireplaces. Any other form of open burning would require the resident to obtain a permit from the fire marshal. I would note that we did receive a recommendation from public safety that these particular open burning permits be limited to yards where there can be 25 feet from the property line. The current ordinance that's before council right now prescribes for a 20-foot barrier between the fire and the property line. If you would like that revised to the 25 feet, the city attorney's office can do that for you.
Anything to add or discussion? Are we happy with the ordinance as it stands?
Madam Mayor,
Weiss, yep.
just a clarification question on what Attorney Kraus just said. If we did want to amend it to 25, would we have to do that before we approved it?
We can include that specific amendment in the first reading. If that's what council chooses to do, we can make that specific modification to the text.
And my understanding of the 25 feet is that that is the recommendation from our fire marshal. Is that correct?
That's
City
correct.
Manager? Okay.
Madam Mayor, could I ask Director Cooper to weigh in on whether or not 20 or 25 is the proper number?
Good evening, City Council and City Manager. I would stick with the 25 feet on the recommendation of my fire marshal and the fire inspector as opposed to 20 feet.
Okay.
My recommendation, I concur with that.
So I would guess that we vote on the change first and then the amendment, then the amendment is changed. So we need to vote on an amendment changing 20 feet to 25 feet for outdoor burning. Need a motion.
Point of order, Madam Mayor?
Yes,
We have we have a motion on the floor, though. Do we have to do anything
I
with
think
that
we
before
have
the
to
amendment?
vote on the amendment and then vote on the amended total.
That would be correct.
Ed Norris, are we correct there?
We need to, a motion to amend is in order.
Okay, so Councilmember Weiss, will you make the motion to?
Make that motion to amend from 20 to 25 feet for,
And then,
I believe it's for both recreational fire and bonfire. Is that correct?
That's correct. The 25-foot requirement would be applicable to any recreational fire, not the portable fireplaces, but any recreational fire that would require a permit.
okay, is there a second, please, on the small amendment?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Edgar. All those in favor of changing it from 20 feet to 25 feet, as our Director Cooper requested, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now we have
Me.
the motion on the floor, I believe. Do we need a second motion as amended? Or do we just?
No, just,
Okay, so then we have a motion that was moved and seconded on the floor, and we've approved the change from 20 to 25 feet. And there's now discussion on the motion on a whole, as a whole. Is there discussion? Yes, Councilmember Weiss.
I know we went through pretty extensive discussion of this during the special meeting, but not everyone was on that. So I just wanted to reiterate that a lot of work was done in researching and proposing this. I know at the last council meeting, there were some residents who brought very valid, very well-researched concerns about some of the environmental and health risks associated with outdoor burning, even of clean wood. And I personally, I had as well, knowing that in our city we already have so many residents that have these portable fire pits. I'm in support of this because I think it's too difficult to police that as it is right now. This will allow us to focus on more problem areas as they come up. And so I'm okay with it. I also want to point out that we did include in this provision under, I believe, under item G, that all forms of open burning, including use of portable outdoor fireplaces, are prohibited on days when SEMCOG has declared an air quality or ozone action day. So on those days where air quality is low, people will not be able to open burn, even in portable fire pits.
I know because of smog, California has banned all of this, including fireplace burning. This can be addressed down the road if it turns out to be an issue. Any further comments or questions before we vote? City Clerk Ed Norris, would you call the roll?
I'm sorry, I don't know if it was muted. I do have a comment.
Yes, please.
I'm going to vote for this, even though I don't think that this is written the way it should be. I don't think we should require permits. I think that's overreach. I don't think permits should be necessary. If we have an ordinance which states what's legal and what's not legal, then if there's a complaint, we can come out there. And if it violates the ordinance, we can issue a ticket. It can be a fix-it ticket, a corrective ticket, the kind of ticket you get when you have a busted taillight. So I don't think that this is something that should require permits. I just don't. I likewise don't like the fact that we don't allow any sort of treated wood or kerosene at all. I think that these are things that people are already doing. People already have bonfires. People are going to continue to have bonfires. We're not going to be enforcing it. I think we all know that, unless there's a complaint. So what we're doing is we're taking something which everybody's doing, and instead of creating an ordinance which everybody can follow, we're creating an ordinance which some people will follow, and probably the majority of the city will just continue to ignore. And they won't be stopped unless there's a complaint, unless there's a formal complaint, and we go out there and see that there's something wrong. And that's just not the way I think ordinances should be passed. I'm still going to be voting for it because we had extensive discussion about this already, and I'm not in the majority, and that's how democracy works. But I did want to be on the record of stating what my concerns were about this.
Appreciate that. And ordinances grow and change with time. So this.
And just to be clear, Councilman Ratner, you're referring to the ordinance in regards to the recreational fires, correct?
Correct.
You don't allow it, requiring permits is what he doesn't like.
For a recreational fire.
Correct.
Okay. That's a big fire. Okay, yeah.
And Madam Mayor, if I could just clarify too, in case there are any residents watching her who are confused about the language. We talked about this earlier, but when we talk about recreational fire, we're talking about any built fireplace or fire on the ground. If it's in a portable unit that you would buy from like Home Depot or Lowe's, that wouldn't require a permit, just to be clear that residents who are watching know that.
And Solomon Radner, there are those portable little fire starter things that you could use without using kerosene that would start the fire. They had 6 for $10 or something at Costco today. So there are, reasonably, there are reasonable ways to start the fire without kerosene necessarily.
What were you describing? What is that?
It's like a little gun thing that starts the fire. It's a little mechanical thing that starts the fire that doesn't require kerosene. Just
that's like a lighter.
Oh,
like a match.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You just gotta do it the old school way with the.
This can be like
like
we're doing now. When if situations change or we find that it's not working, we can revisit the ordinance. A lot of thought, a lot of city time has gone into this. We have listened to all of your questions and concerns. and feel that we've represented them as fairly as possible. So everyone is not going to be happy, but we've taken every side of the argument into consideration and looked it over and evaluated it and have done our very best. So given that, can we have a roll call vote?
Mayor Pro Tem Burns,
Yes.
Councilmember Edgar,
Yes.
Mayor McClellan,
Yes.
Councilmember Radner,
Yes.
and Councilmember Weiss.
Yes.
Okay. Motion carried. Thank you very much. That was a lot of work.
First reading.
City Attorney, if you have anything to add at this point. There is going to be a closed session at the end of the meeting, I know.
That's it, Your Honor. And if we can just correct that the title of that case, which has been submitted to the city clerk to correct the minutes, is City of Oak Park Crown Point versus City of Oak Park. And it's a Michigan Tax Tribunal case number that's been provided to the clerk.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
It's the city manager portion of the agenda, the administration, item 14. City Manager Eric Tungate.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. 14A, I'm going to have Director Crystal Van Vleck speak to this. I know Cheryl Weiss from our Youth Assistance Board is also here to speak to this. Director Van Vleck.
Hello. Good evening, council. So this agenda item is an appointment of new members to the Oak Park Youth Assistance Board. Just a little bit of background information for any of you who we haven't spoken to about this in a while, but the Oakland County Youth Assistance Program is administered through the Oakland County Circuit Court, the Family Division, and it consists of local youth assistance offices in Oakland County communities through a tri-sponsorship agreement between the Circuit Court, the local municipality, and the local school district. The Oak Park Youth Assistance Program was created in 1983 by the Oakland County Circuit Court and includes the following sponsors: the City of Oak Park, the Oak Park School District, and technically also the Charter Township of Royal Oak. Membership eligibility includes civic leaders, organizational and governmental persons, professional people and individuals interested in serving youth in the area, covered by the City of Oak Park and the Oak Park School District. After new members are approved by the Oak Park Youth Assistance Board, they must then be presented to the local sponsors for approval. So upon acceptance by the local sponsors, they must then be sent to the Oakland County Circuit Court judges for final approval and for final appointment to the board. So what we have before you tonight are 3 new members who would like to be on the board, and they've been voted on by the board, and we're asking that you approve them. They are Alyssa Klein, Aisha Tyler, and Christy Price. And we have our board president, Cheryl Weiss, here. And so she's going to speak to you a little bit about each of our new members.
Thank you so much, Crystal. And thank you, city manager and city council members tonight. We are so fortunate on the Oak Park Youth Assistance Board to have these 3 individuals join us. Alyssa Klein is a social worker in the Oak Park School District, and she is just such a fabulous addition to our group, where she works with the kids that are often referred to us. And her insights, her compassion, her experience have helped us so much. And even before she started volunteering with us, she's one of the people I went to a year ago to ask how the Oak Park Youth Assistance Board can support the social workers in the school. What do our kids need? How can we help? So right from the start, she was amazing. Aisha Tyler is one of those people who's just incredible. She is the one person, I think, in the Oak Park School District who truly has the pulse on the kids. Everyone is wonderful, but if you want to know anything about the kids, about what's going on, about individual kids, you go to Tyler, and she knows. There isn't anything so far we have asked her that she has not known or she has not been helpful. And she's amazing. We are so fortunate too, because when Stan Trumpeter retired, we lost that school board connection. So now we have 2 people from the Oak Park School District, in addition to Shayna, who's with us. The other person is Christy Price, and she is a professor at Wayne State University. And I have to tell you, she is a dynamo. we're working on putting together a whole calendar of events for August for our Oak Park kids and our families and our community to fill the gap that the coronavirus has put into plans for recreation and all of that. So when we talked at our last meeting, Christy went on Facebook and she recruited all her friends. We are having an amazing lineup and 99% of it is due to her. So these people, these 3 additions are exactly what we need, not only for the youth assistants, but for all of us. So I just want to thank you in advance for approving them to join us. Thank you for your support. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you so much, Cheryl Weiss, for all you do. You've turned this Oak Park Youth Assistance into a dynamo in the city. It's so impressive what's been going on. Need a motion to approve the appointment of Alyssa Klein, Aisha Taylor, and Christy Price. Is it Aisha? Aisha?
Aisha.
Aisha. Thank you. To the Oak Park Youth Assistance Board. We need a motion and a second.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. That's Gura and Weiss. Any discussion or questions? I think we're lucky to have these people. Glad you roped them in.
Welcome.
Yes, just welcome. And I just want to express thanking them and everyone else on the board, as well as Cheryl, for your service.
Amen. Thank you so much. So all those in favor of these appointments signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Welcome to the Oak Park Youth Assistance Board.
Okay. Madam Mayor, members of council, 14B, I'm going to turn it over to Director Maroney, please.
Good evening. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. We're asking you to approve the distribution of our revised master plan. And I'm going to go through a brief presentation here once I get it up. Okay, hopefully you can all see it now.
Yeah, make it a little bit bigger, Kim.
There we go. How's that?
Ooh, okay.
So the reason we're updating the plan right now is it must be updated every 5 years. The last one we did was in 2017, so we are a little bit ahead of schedule. However, we're currently updating the city's strategic plan, and we felt it was a good time to also incorporate some changes into the master plan. We're also looking at an offer from the Ferndale School District to purchase the property of Jackson Park to create a new school and then turn the remaining portion into a new park that they will manage. And then the updates will also reflect all the numerous changes that we've had in the community since 2017, and there's been quite a few. So we thought we should reflect them here as well. So the changes from the last master plan, it's probably the easiest just to go through what those are. In the executive summary on page 4, all we really did is mention that we are now doing the census of 2020. In the housing section, we amended the last paragraph to discuss the affordable housing developments that we've done in the last few years, including Jefferson Oaks and Coolidge Place. And we also updated the text to reflect the current housing statistics and rental values, which have gone up drastically since we did it back in 2017. So that reflects that the housing prices have gone up. So your houses are worth a lot more than they were back in 2017. And the rental income has also increased as well. We also made changes to our existing land use. We are currently going through all of our zoning ordinances as part of the RRC program, and we've hired a consultant and we're nearing the end of that process. Within that, we have an updated land use map, and in that we've included 2 new districts. One is a mixed use 2 district, which is the same as a mixed use 1 district, and it identifies our 9 and Coolidge, which is kind of our city center area, as mixed use. And the other item is an industrial flex district. And that is the area on Capitol near Ernie's Market. It's partly residential, partly industrial, and we thought that that would be a great start in doing our live work type industrial district and starting it there and then moving outwards from there after we've tested it out. We also made changes to our recreation portion. We wanted to include Hazel Park, that we have already entered into an agreement with them. In the past master plan, we were just hoping to, so that's been done. We also updated our list of parks. So we removed Jackson Park, but would also added our 9 Mile linear parks, Seneca Pocket Park, and Sherman Pocket Park. The Complete Streets Plan, back when we did it in 2017, we were hoping to adopt one that has been done, so it reflects that it has been adopted and the highlights of that. We did an additional public input, so we revised the public input summary. We did a survey, and we also used the survey from their strategic plan in order to compile that information. The goals and implementation that were identified in the last plan, we needed to update that list because we have already accomplished many of those tasks. And we wanted to add a few other ones and update the timelines and when those would be accomplished. The future land use plan, I already went through that, the MX2 district and the industrial flex. And the priority redevelopment sites. There were many sites that were included in the last master plan that have already been developed. So we removed those from them as well. The next steps of the master plan is if council votes to go ahead and distribute the plan, we distribute it to all the municipalities and the surrounding jurisdictions as well as the county. We have a public comment period open until September 21st. Anybody who would like to submit comments can submit them directly to me. There's instructions on our website under the Planning Commission page. And we are going to have a public town hall that is going to be held on July 27th, and due to COVID, it will be on Zoom. We have 2 times designated, both at 10:30 and 5:30, and the website has the login instructions for those, and we've been promoting that on social media as well. And I open it up to any questions that council might have.
I am just extremely impressed with how much work, detailed, careful work has been going on, making sure that the documents concur and that the latest is recorded. It's very impressive.
Yeah, we always want to make sure we're following our plans and keeping them updated.
Thank you, Director Maroney.
Amen.
Thank you. I had a quick question about the process. So what we're approving tonight is the current revisions to then be sent out to the public to gather their input. And then I'm assuming after all, we've gathered all that information, revisions are made, we would be approving then a final version later.
That is correct. There will actually be a public hearing that will be held on October 12th in order to hear any public comments that weren't already submitted. And then the city council will vote on whether or not to adopt the new master plan.
Okay, great. Thank you.
We welcome all ideas. The more of us that chip in an idea, the better. Everybody's got something to offer, and we'd love to hear from you. Let's see, master plan. So we are voting on accepting the recommendations of the Planning Commission and approving distribution of the draft master plan update. Do we have a motion, Clerk Norris? No, we need a motion and a second.
So
motion to approve.
Thank you, Councilmember Edgar, and a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Madam Mayor, I have one other
Yes.
quick question.
Yes.
The 2 meetings that we're having, virtual meetings, are there going to be additional meetings after that as well? Or are those just the initial ones? And also, how are we going to be sharing that information out to the public?
The information is already on our website. If you go to the planning page, I've already put the new master plan draft out there. We've been doing social media posts already to promote the town hall meeting at those 2 times. That is the only one that we're proposing to do right now. We are open to answer any questions that the public may have at any time. They can contact me directly at 248-691-7400, or I'm sorry, 7404, or you can email me at kmarrone@oakparkmi.gov, and I'll answer those questions on an individual basis after that. Then we'll be having the Planning Commission meeting on October 12th, which is a public hearing, and then it will go to council on October 19th.
Another about that, I know that there's been some discussion about people being able to find things on the website. Is it on the calendar as well, on our city calendar?
I will have to check with the communications department on whether that's been posted on the calendar. The calendar is hard to navigate sometimes because of our website restrictions. I will make sure it's posted on the main page though.
Thank you.
Okay, we're ready to vote. Let's see. I think we can just do a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, 14C, I'm going to turn it over to Assistant City Manager Kevin Yee, please.
Thank you. Attached is a proposal for professional services for water system improvements. In working with our SCADA vendor, UIS SCADA, a proposal was prepared to provide new micrologic PLCs and cell phone antennas at all of our water system pump stations around the city and also our sewer lift station. This work has become an immediate necessity because we have seen an increase in the failure of the old serial MDS radio antennas. In order to properly maintain our water system, communication is required at all times. UIS SCADA has performed work in the past and is our sole vendor for this type of work. Their proposal is for a total of $52,875. Past work in the city by UIS SCADA has always been to the satisfaction of city personnel. There is $80,000 budgeted in the 1920 water and sewer fund for this expenditure. It is recommended that the professional services for professional service proposal from UIS SCADA for water system improvements be approved for a total of $52,875. It is further requested that funding that was not utilized in the 1920 budget from the water and sewer fund be utilized for this expenditure. Now, if I may take a minute to explain, because that was a lot of acronyms and words that probably don't make a lot of sense, but what we have is we have 3 pump stations in the city, the reservoir, the elevated water tank, and we have a sewer lift station. All of those are controlled by a computer system that is operated called SCADA. And there's a lot of computer parts and things operating in all of these pump stations and reservoirs and things like that. So right now we have a radio system that basically sends signals between there and the Public Works Department, which then we can pick up on our phones, computers, whatever, to control what we're doing with the water system. Now, the way that the water system works, and I try not to go into a whole lot of detail, but in order to get the best rate from the Great Lakes Water Authority, we pump water late at night. And what that basically does is pump water at off times when they have less of a demand, and that lowers our water rate. What happens is, we've had 2 issues. One is the radio systems have started to fail and we'll get these big gaps. And when we get these gaps, not only does it the water system stop functioning because it doesn't know what to do, but also it calls our poor foreman and deputy director in the middle of the night or whenever this is, it calls them on their cell phone to tell them you've lost communication because it doesn't know what to do. This is critical for a lot of reasons. Some of you have witnessed and called me about the 11-mile tank overflowing. So if you've witnessed that or seen that, it's because what happens is it loses communication, so the pumps don't shut off. They keep pumping until it overflows. So that's one of the issues with it. The other issue is we have what are called the PLCs, which are that stands for Programmable Logic Controller. And those are like the computers at each pump station that relay the data, store the information, and tell the pumps and things what to do. They kind of program everything. Those are probably 20 years old. And as I'm sure you're well aware, technology changes drastically in 20 years. So we're using very old information and data, and we need to upgrade these. This will be cell phone activated, so it'll be instantaneous. It'll be pretty much uninterruptible, and it'll work, like it should. We actually had an issue where we did go over what's called our peak hour, which is when our water system pumps water when we shouldn't. We did have an issue with that. Fortunately, it wasn't during Great Lakes Water Authority's peak hour, so it won't affect our water rates, but it is something that we need to have under control, because if it did occur like that, our water rates could skyrocket overnight. So I want to bring that up and make sure that you understand kind of what this is all about.
I was hoping you were going to put this into English, and I appreciate so much that you did.
Well, I'm hoping that I did. It's still not the easiest, but I'm hoping that I did.
Thank you very much. We need a motion to approve this proposal for water system improvements. We need a motion and a second. And we can just.
Second.
Was that Burns and Edgar? Thank you.
No,
No.
Burns and Weiss, I think.
Burns
And Weiss. Thank you. Discussion or questions about this expenditure?
So I do have a quick question. Are we pretty confident that this is going to fix that problem? Like, I know this is to replace the antenna.
Yes.
Are we replacing anything else that may impact the readings?
No, so we're confident that the problem that we're having is that we're losing connection. We're losing the signal. That's one of the problems. And the other problem would be in the controller end of it. We're very confident that this is going to do what we want it to do. We have even checked with OHM, who has been our consultant on a lot of different things, and we run things by them sometimes like this that we're not experts in, but they do have an expertise in, and they thought similarly that this is going to solve our problem.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Roll call, please. Roll call.
Mayor McClellan,
Yes.
Councilmember Radner,
Yes.
Councilmember Weiss,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Burns,
Yes.
and Councilmember Edgar.
Yes.
City Manager, you're on fence project update.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. I'm going to turn this over to the Assistant City Manager Yee here as well, but I do want to just mention that we're getting a lot of business taken care of tonight, and this is just one more thing I'd asked him to put on the agenda here so that we can give you an update. You may have already noticed some of the electrical is being installed for this project. But Kevin, take it away if you could.
Yes, thank you. So it was asked at the last meeting, I believe by the mayor, what we're going to do as far as the fencing goes on both 9 Mile Road and behind City Hall, where we're adjoining residential properties. And we've gone back and forth with the city attorney's office on what is the appropriate thing to do and how to gain, I guess, access to this and what the best thing is to do here. We've also had a meeting with the fence contractor and talked about what we think is would be the best thing to do and what would work. So what we're going to do is, first of all, this isn't an easement. The fence isn't an easement. In both locations, there are utility wires going above where the fence is. And our intention is to notify both the property owners and the residents, if they are different, that we intend to take down that fence, the old fence, clear out any of the brush that's in the fence, which we've already done a lot of clearing, anything that's in the wires and the brush and stuff on our side of the fence. But we'd like to clear away any things that may damage or intrude into the fence and install the fence in the same location as the old fence. We are, like I said, we are going to give certified letters to everyone involved in this. We're going to ask them both in the letter, and we're going to knock on doors if they have any issues with children or pets that may escape during this project. And the contractor has assured us that it would be no longer than 3 days, of course, giving any leeway to a major weather issue, but no more than 3 days where the fence would be down. And if they have issues with children or pets, they will put up a temporary snow fence to secure the yards and things like that. So like I said, we're going to make every effort to, both through certified mail and through knocking on doors, to contact and get with every property owner, make sure they understand the project, make sure they don't not want us to do that and remove the old fence. But we want to secure the yards and, put a great looking product, that they are going to enjoy in their yards from their yard as well.
So
I wanted to make that announcement. We're going to do a campaign on our end to show this on, the website and on Facebook or wherever, whatever means that we can to, kind of show what we're going to do, what our intention is, and notify everyone directly that will be impacted.
And Kevin, if you could comment too, the same process is going to be applied to the city hall fencing and the rear fencing there adjacent to the neighborhood, correct?
That is correct. Everything would be the same. So that those will be the same. Right now, just to give everyone kind of an idea of where we're at, the vinyl fencing is probably a 4 to 6 week lead time. They said it's a good possibility they may get like 3 or 4 shipments of it in smaller increments, but they don't want to kind of start and stop and start and stop. So they're going to, they expect within probably 5 or 6 weeks, they'll probably start, the project, and right when they're getting the fencing in, and just keep going and complete the project. The aluminum fencing, I think, was an 8-week lead time, if I recall off the top of my head. And so that, is going to be a little bit longer for the area out at the court. And then the area for the chain link that's on the city hall on the west side, they can get that pretty much anytime. But if you, like, as the city manager mentioned, they're putting the electrical now for the gate operators, and we're going to pretty much start moving on this project here in the next couple of weeks and start getting this done.
So the residents are getting free, beautiful new back fence for free.
You're correct. Yes.
This was the ideal, in my opinion, this was the ideal solution. And I was delighted that we're not charging them and that it's going to be beautiful. And it sounds like a win-win solution. And so I'm delighted it was able to be managed this way.
I would agree. We just want to make sure we've notified everyone and that no one is opposed to it.
Right.
Thank you, Kevin.
Are there questions for Assistant City Manager Kevin Yee about the fence project? Yes.
Thank you. Oh.
I do have one quick question. If we do have a resident who is opposed to it, is this eminent domain? Like, are we going to be able to move forward if there's one resident who's opposed to it? Would that person just be left out? How would that work?
If we have a resident that is opposed to it, we are likely to, and we haven't completely decided, but if we are likely to abut this fence up to their existing fence, so we don't have to encroach on that property.
Okay.
So we'll clear out our section, clear out any, living, trees and bushes and anything like that, and then put the fence up adjacent to that, and which will leave a gap and a maintenance issue, that we want to avoid for the residents' sake, really. But yeah, that's what we're thinking.
Weeds growing between the two fences is what we wanted to avoid, and
correct.
I think that this solution is ideal. Any other questions or comments? This was just a report, so.
Yes.
Okay. 14E, we have our Director of Elections, Lisa Vecchio, on the call, I believe. Director Vecchio. I hear we have an election coming up.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Just a quick update on our election on August 4th. This is a primary election. All 16 of our polling locations in Oak Park will be open 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. And we have been steadily working on our absentee balloting in the city. The last day to request a ballot by mail is July 31st. That's a Friday by 5 p.m. So if you're looking to still get an absentee ballot sent out to you, you must apply before that deadline. So far, we have issued 6,850 ballots in our city, which is a huge increase for us. That's in comparison to the last election we had in March for the presidential primary. Our numbers were 4,000. So we have really increased that number of ballots issued. So we still have a lot of those out. We've got a couple thousand of those still around. So we encourage our voters to get those in as soon as possible. Of course, they have until Election Day to return those. Today was the last day to register to vote via mail or online. Voters can still register in person with a proof of residency up until now and on Election Day. I encourage voters or residents who are not currently registered to vote to do so prior to Election Day to avoid any crowds at City Hall to do that. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
And an easy way to return a ballot is just drive up to City Hall and put it in the box by the door. If you don't have to come in.
Yes, of course. Yeah, we
returning the ballot, drop it off.
Yeah, the drop box outside of our building, you can mail it in. If you wanted to come into City Hall, we will take it there as well, of course.
Director Vecchio, I just had a couple clarifying questions in case people are wondering. If somebody has their absentee ballot on Election Day, they need to take that to the city clerk's office, not to their polling location, correct?
Correct.
If somebody wants to spoil their ballot, so if they either made a mistake on their ballot or they want to get it back and do it again, is there a time, can they do that up to Election Day? Is there a time limit for that?
The last possible time they could do that would be the day before the election, and they would have to come in person in order to do that, and they would have to vote their new ballot in person at City Hall. They wouldn't be able to leave the building with it. So if that is something that comes up, I would suggest dealing with that as soon as possible to avoid any crowds.
Okay, and then if somebody had an absentee ballot, but then they decided they wanted to vote in person, can they do that on Election Day? Can they surrender their ballot, vote at their polling place?
Yes, yeah. So if you change your mind, you have an absentee ballot that has been issued to you, you can still, and you haven't returned it prior to Election Day, you can still go vote in person at the precinct. If you have the ballot with you, you would surrender it to the poll. The people working at the polls are election workers out there, and you will be able to vote in person.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question. Are we getting enough election workers? How much are they paid, and how do they get trained?
I would still be accepting applications for election workers. We've been posting about it to try to get more applications in, and have seen an increase there. So we are looking pretty good, but I would encourage anybody who is interested to submit an application. You can find that application online on our city website, at the State of Michigan website, or if you contact our city clerk's office, we'd be happy to help you with that. The pay for Election Day would be including the day of work and training, and there is an approval of hazard pay that is gone out for election workers, bringing it to a total of $235 for completing the training and working the day. And if you were selected to work at one of our precincts, we would be informing you of the training procedures for that and assigning you to a precinct.
Is there an age restriction? Do you have to be 18 to be a precinct?
I believe you can actually you can actually work at the age of 16. So anybody that's interested, I know they wouldn't be registered to vote at that age, but you can work on the polls at the age of 16 and older.
Any other?
If you opt for that forever, to get an absentee ballot forever, of course, you don't always have to vote absentee, right? But if you decide to go to a poll instead, you would still have to surrender that ballot? Or could you just sort of rip it up and not do anything?
Well, first off, being on the listing wouldn't allow you to be sent a ballot forever. You still have to apply for that ballot. Our list of voters that we maintain for absentee voting only allows us to mail them an application for a ballot. If they don't wish to vote absentee, they don't have to return that application. That's totally up to them. If they do, as we were talking about earlier, get a ballot and change their mind and they haven't returned it and they want to vote in person, they must surrender the ballot on election day. If they do not have it, they would have to sign a specific affidavit, and there's some kind of background checking with our city clerk's office that would be done at that moment with them being there at the polls. But we would encourage them to bring that ballot if they were going to surrender it and vote in person.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Director Vecchio. Director Robert Barrett is here to talk about 14F. We've got some changes with our yard services program. Director Barrett, take it away.
Thank you, Eric. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here to report an update on our CDBG yard services contract. Back in June, you approved the bids to go out to request that service to be bid out. Unfortunately, we did not receive any bids to administer our program year 2019 CDBG yard services contract. We've been informed that OSHA, who's typically performs this service for us, does not have the staffing levels to manage the CDBG yard services. After looking into many options with our CDBG coordinator, we have determined that if we want to continue the program, the best option would be to administer the yard services program internally. Unfortunately, to administer the yard services program internally, there'd be about a 1-month delay in resuming mowing services to the seniors. Attaches a letter to the seniors that OSHA sent out informing them of the city's going to deliver this service, and they also listed a bunch of reasonable contractors that they could hire to have their grass cut in July. We recently been working hard with our city attorneys to create a new RFP for a yard services contract, where we are going to directly solicit bids from landscaping companies so we can manage them to go out and do this. And that is out to bid at this moment, and I expect to have those back in and present it to you on August 10th to award to them. And what will entail on our end is just we'll have to administratively qualify the seniors and manage the yard services contract and how many cuts they get and how many seniors get the grass cut and so forth, and follow all the federal regulations. So, I mean, this is an update of some bad news that, we're going to be stuck doing all this extra work. But the good news is we have the resolve and figured out how we're going to accomplish this. And we expect the services to resume shortly after August 10th.
Fewer people will be able to be included in this. Is that correct? Because OSHA was increasing the number of people?
Well, part of the problem with OSHA having the staffing levels, they are working with an agency called Area for Aging Seniors 1B, and they also provided additional funding for that, and they discontinued the partnership with that, which helped supplement how many seniors got their grass cut. So until we get this RFP returned and we know how much we're going to actually be charged per cut from this vendor that we're going to award, we will not know how many seniors we'll be able to service.
Yes. Councilmember Weiss.
Yeah, I have a few questions. I've two residents have reached out to me regarding this, that they had received this service and were no longer receiving it. How many seniors currently, prior to OLSHA ending their contract, how many seniors in Oak Park received this service?
For our program year 2018 yard services contract, there was a stipulation in there from the 1B AAA aging agency that indicated and dictated how much the grass could be cut, and it was down to $17. So the vendor didn't have any choice. So at a $17 per cut price, they were servicing 81 seniors.
Okay. And then, so my understanding is that these seniors have not had anyone, unless they've made arrangements themselves, they have not had anyone come out since June 30th. Is that correct?
Correct.
And so this would not, in a best case scenario, we're looking at what date for that to resume?
If in a perfect world, we'll get the everything going on the week of August 10th. We would need council approval on August 10th, and then I will issue a notice of award and get their insurance documents reviewed and our contract signed that week and start the project.
So for the seniors who are not able to afford someone to come out to cut their grass between now and then, what's the plan for them?
At the moment, unfortunately, they're on their own, and our code officers do have a list of all the 81 seniors are working with them, and I have not had any issues reported to me of any of them letting their grass fall behind.
Okay, I wouldn't personally be comfortable with a ticket under these circumstances, since they had signed up for the program and kind of got the rug pulled out from under them.
I concur. Okay. So I would like to be reasonable and consistent.
Okay, and then is there the possibility of continuing with the current contractor in the interim, whatever contract service was administering the actual yard service?
You're talking about the landscaping contractor?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The current landscaping contractor was on the list of preferred vendors that OLSHA sent to the seniors. And we are directly soliciting them for our RFP for yard services too.
Okay. All right, thank you. So basically right now, if those seniors do have any concerns, they should use the list that OLSHA sent them, and then they can contact the city if there are any additional questions that they have.
Yes, and also they've been informed to contact the city in that letter till we can start compiling a list of seniors that will have to income qualify and go through the pre-qualification list, start gathering their information.
And does the city have I know it's a lot of houses. Does the city have any ability to administer this in the interim?
That would be a question for City Manager Tungate.
I would say no, unfortunately. And, the first thought that I had looking at this was, could we do this through an emergency purchase contract? But this is all HUD funded, remember? So there are very strict requirements in terms of how this is bid out. So as far as I know, we can't upend the process that has to be undertaken. It's just going to be a month without services, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Can I add that we've been fortunate to have a hot and dry July?
Yeah. This caught us all off guard, unfortunately. But we'll be, I think to Director Barrett's point, we'll be as flexible as possible with these 81 seniors. I mean, everybody understands the situation, so.
Further comments or questions? I don't think we don't need, that was just an update, so we don't need a vote. Thank you for shifting gears in a hurry.
Absolutely. Thank you, Director Barrett. 14G, we have our esteemed colleague, Jocelyn Davis is on with us 14G is a request to approve a professional services proposal from Jade Strategies for communications consulting, subject to review by the city attorney. Council members, as you know, I had retained Jade Strategies, Jocelyn Davis being the owner of that, and having worked here prior, I had retained her for a period of 90 days, right around the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. Jocelyn and I have come to terms on an agreement to extend her contract out to 1 year with some caveats. And she's here to answer any questions or add anything to this as well. One of the caveats would be that she, she would be, as she was, for those of you that don't know this, as she was before, she served as the Director of Communications for the city. So she would be retaining that role, but then she would also be required to bring on another individual who would handle our more day-to-day stuff. And that would be at her expense, but on the city's behalf. The hope that she and I have discussed is that this individual could possibly work their way into the director position, later on. But Jocelyn, do you want to add anything to that? That's a basic overview of it. But once this gets settled, council members, my intent is to separate communications from economic development entirely and have it be a separate standalone department.
City Manager Tungate, thank you. And good evening, Mayor McClellan and City Council members. I just want to say that I feel like I'm coming back home. I actually have really a great love in my heart for Oak Park. When we started this work in 2013, the first time, we didn't have a whole lot. And we actually built it together under the direction of City Manager Tungate. We created communications for the city. We really weren't active before that, and now it has really blossomed. So when I look at everything that's here, there's such a great foundation, we can move to the next level. That's why I actually entitled the proposal Next Level Strategic Communications. I have this vision, and City Manager Tungate and I have talked about this, of Oak Park becoming a national thought leader. And I think that's the next place we have to go here. This city, I don't think even the residents of the city, I know the leadership knows, but the residents of the city know what a treasure Oak Park is when it comes to comparing it to other cities of its same size across the country. So my vision, and City Manager and I have talked about this, is that I would love for National Public Radio to be doing a spot on economic development in mid-sized cities or any other kind of an issue, and think of Oak Park first. So to me, that's where we're going next. So we maintain what we have, we maximize what we have using the latest and greatest technology. I think before 2013, before I came, we didn't have robocalling, we didn't have e-blasts. The website was in a pickle. We had a lot of issues. We didn't have a publication. We didn't have a publication going out to residents on a regular basis. So we've done all of that. Let's now make that the best it can be. In other words, find newer technology we can use and other tools that'll help us stay in touch with the community and have the community stay in touch with us. So it's two-way. And then also work on that national thought leader position. I think Oak Park is the one to watch. So thank you, City Manager, for allowing me to have that moment. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I just want to add this too, council members. When you add up the costs, and I'm going to do a share screen here really quickly. I did a little chart here, and I've been waiting about 15 years in government now to be able to title a chart Communications Breakdown for all the Led Zeppelin fans out there. I don't know if you are out there or not, but one thing I wanted to note is that the personnel budget, I hope everybody can see this okay, and I'm going to make it larger, Mayor Pro Tem. So the personnel budget for communications in 2013-14, you see the number there. We had 2 personnel in that role. The communications budget in this year's budget, you see the number there, and we have 2 personnel. Now with the Jade contract, obviously there's going to be an increase in the budget, and I'm going to be asking you for an amendment to the budget coming up. But this is the big thing for me right here, is that I get 3. And this includes our videographer, Benny White, who does such a great job for us. So to me, the investment's well worth it. And especially because, Jocelyn said she's been here before. Jocelyn took us through the flood of 2014. And I think for those of you that lived that, how critical that was in our communications, and that was so critical.
And just to jump in, other cities said they wanted their city to do what our city was doing as far as keeping people abreast of things for the flood. We set the bar.
Well, that was all Jocelyn, because I think I can't recall exactly how many videos we did, but the videos that we did, I think there were somewhere around 15 or 18 of them. But you're absolutely right, Mayor, that other cities were emulating that, and that was all Jocelyn. So with that, I am requesting your approval of a 1-year contract with her.
Okay, we need a motion and a second to approve a contract.
So moved.
Weiss is the motion. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Edgar is the second. Just to say, when I started, was no reaching out to newspapers. There was no, we were doing nothing with social media at all. The website was ancient. I think that there was a welcome packet on the website, but nobody could find it. There was a cable show, but the presenter usually didn't shave and wear a clean shirt. It was the worst. It was probably kind of down there. And Jocelyn invented, she said, I love a blank wall that I can just write on. And she certainly had that blank wall with us because there was nothing in communications, as there was nothing in economic development at that time. So both of these departments were born and bloomed, and they bloomed into something that other cities are talking about. When Jocelyn wrote the plan for internal and external communication and whatever else was involved, the city of Birmingham told me that they copied it. So this is an investment at this time when it's so hard for us to communicate. We can't get together as a group. So my 2 cents is it's a great investment, and we will be glad we did this. City Manager Tunge?
Here, Madam Mayor, on all that. And I just wanted to add, because you were saying all those things, I also wanted to remind council members, Jocelyn wrote and directed us through our first strategic planning effort several years ago now. And in my opinion, that strategic planning effort has now led to, some of the monumental changes you were talking about just a moment ago. Our longstanding relationship here at the city, and in terms of, taking us to the next level, as she mentioned, I think that's critical stuff, and that's where we're at right now.
Can I ask who is do we have any idea for who we're hiring? Or is that something that's going to go out for?
I would defer to Jocelyn on that one.
Yeah.
So I do have a communication specialist that I am going to recommend. What I'm doing is I'm outsourcing that. I'm contracting with a subcontractor to work with me, but our agreement is that the city manager will need to approve that person before I hire that person, and that person comes to work with the city.
I'm guessing that you're going to find us a Lulu.
Mayor,
Yes.
may I?
Yes.
So what is Colton's role now? What is he going to be doing? I know that he was writing for the quarterly magazine and other communications for the city. So what is his role going to be under Jocelyn? And will it be under Jocelyn?
Well, that's an excellent question, council member. So Colton will not be working in communications as of this transition. Now it's going to require that we get the new individual contracted and set up and everything else and acclimated. But Colton is actually going to be going over into the planning, the city planning realm under Director Maroney. So that is really where his where he wants to be and where his education is really. So he will actually not be in this function.
So we have 3 people now, though, in communications, including Benny.
Mhm.
Correct?
We will have, yes.
Okay, Jocelyn, and then whomever Jocelyn contracts with.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry.
Yes, yes. Mayor Tim Burns.
Okay, I thought that we had a hiring freeze on. And we laid people off. Well, some of our public workers. I know Jocelyn did an excellent job when she was with us. I don't doubt that she will continue to do that, but I think our resources should be better spent or looked at to be spent somewhere differently right now instead of on communications. We still don't have funds to redo our bathrooms at Shepherd Park.
Well, Madam Mayor, do you want me to?
Yes, please.
So this is not, we're not hiring. That's one of the beauties of this, in my view. This is a contract. So we're contracting for these services, number one. And just so you know, if I were to go out and replace Colton, who was leaving for the other department, as I mentioned, and hire a bona fide communications director, you're still going to see an increase in this budget. In my opinion, you get 2 for 1 here because you get Jocelyn and then this other individual for the price of 1, really. And you don't have any of the fringe benefits that go with a traditional city employee either.
That's a savings. Contract, right. Any further discussion or questions?
No, I don't have any.
You ready to vote then?
Sure.
Okay. This is a vote to approve a professional services proposal from Jade Strategies for communications consulting, subject to review by the city attorney. I don't remember. Do we have a motion?
We do.
We do. So this is just to vote. City Clerk, would you do a roll call, please?
Yes, Sam. Councilmember Radner.
Yes.
Councilmember Weiss.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Burns.
No.
Councilmember Edgar.
Yes.
And Mayor McClellan.
Yes, a motion carried. Thank you. I think that when we can't have recreational events and we can't have events in the library during this COVID crisis, that this is something to invest in. I think we will not be sorry for this. Thank you. This motion carried.
Thank you, council members. Madam Mayor, that completes the city manager report for this evening. Have a good evening. Thank you. And remember, we have a closed session.
Right. First call to the audience. Director Van Vleck, would you handle that, please?
Yes, so just if for anyone who is here during the special meeting, we'll do it the same way. So there is an option at the bottom of your screen to raise your hand. And we try to do it first come, first serve. So as we see your hand go up, we'll call on you in that order. If you can't find that, you can also use the chat feature to let us know, but the hand raising should be in the bottom right-hand side of your screen. If you don't see it, you can click on, I think it's participants, and then you should see it on the right-hand side, but there's also reactions if you choose to use those. Mayor, I do not see anyone with their hand up.
All right, and there's no one on the phone?
And we have no one joining by phone.
Okay, we will do a call to council and then a vote to go into closed session.
Actually, I'm sorry. I believe there is one person by phone. I apologize.
Oh, sure.
There's an Eric on here. I'm going to unmute you. And if you'd like to speak for public comment, go ahead. Okay. All right. Sorry, Mayor. I think we're good now.
Okay. We have now call to council, Mayor Pro Tem Burns.
Thank you everyone for coming out. Thank you to all the department heads for all of your hard work on all of the presentations we had this evening. It is a hot heat wave. Please take the necessary precautions to stay cool and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Radner.
Good night.
Councilmember Weiss.
Good evening, everyone. Just wanted to encourage people. I know we've talked a bit about this on this meeting about the August 4th primary. It is quickly approaching, so please that you vote. It's not too late to request an absentee ballot if you still want to do that. And you can also do that for the November election as well. But it's critically important that you vote. A lot of people already have. So for everyone who's done that and hasn't, please make sure you do. And then I also wanted to just remind our residents, and I know our residents are great about this because I'm out and I see people doing the right thing, but just a reminder to, under the governor's order, Mask Up Michigan, make sure you're wearing masks when you're out in enclosed places, or if you're in a public gathering outside with multiple people. Really important. I'm a teacher. We're going to be going back to school soon. If we want to do that, we got to get these numbers down. The only way to do that is everybody does their part. So just a reminder for that. And then also additionally, the last thing, if you weren't on the special council meeting, one of the items that we did discuss was revising our animal ordinance for different purposes. And we should hopefully have a first reading ready for that for our August meeting. But that will, there are some changes coming to that. And so more to come. And if you do have any questions or concerns about that, please feel free to reach out to council. Thank you and have a great night.
Thank you so much. I would like to offer our congratulations to Oak Park senior Asia Lorenzen. She's an A student, president of her school's chapter of the National Honor Society, recognized as a Gatorade Michigan Girls Track and Field Player of the Year, and a finalist for the prestigious National Award. Because of COVID, nationals were canceled, but that didn't get Asia down. I understand why they canceled it, she said, and it's a break. I run all year round. I don't mind a little break, to be honest. I know I'll come back with a bang in my college debut. And that's Oak Park spirit for you. Congratulations, Asia. And also just a reminder, Wednesday, we've got our farmers market open. Please come, and there's great produce there. It's wonderful. There's some local people selling some things that they've made. And there is a tent from the Friends of the Library. Please come and support the Friends of the Library. They're putting together bags of books, like maybe in categories mystery or children's or teen. And they're not just grabbing books, they're really looking at them. And I got a wonderful bag of children's books with some Caldecott winners in them. They're taking time and putting books in the bag. So for $5, you get a bag of books. And the McDonald's on Lincoln Center donated $550 worth of coupons. So you also can get a $4.50 coupon for Chicken McNuggets for your $5 donation. So come on down and do that. Thank you so much. Stay cool, and we'll see you at the next meeting. We now are going,
Madam Mayor,
yes.
I would, believe we need Councilmember Edgar to.
Oh, I'm sorry, we missed you. She's too quiet today. All right, sorry. Thank you.
I just wanted to thank everybody for coming out and to thank our city attorneys for really helping to really listening to us and working on these amendments to the burning ordinance. And as Councilwoman Weiss mentioned, our animal ordinances, which I think are really important. And I would encourage everybody to come to the meeting in August where we will do a first reading. We really had a lot of gaps in the existing ordinance. We're also adding something about chickens. So for those of you who want to raise chickens and those of you who are completely opposed to it, you should definitely tune in. But anyway, stay safe. Good night.
Thank you. I was worried about forgetting the closed session and I forgot Councilmember Edgar. But remember the closed session. Pursuant to Section 8 of the Open Meetings Act to discuss attorney-client privilege communication and pending litigation regarding Tina Pope et al. Versus the City of Oak Park. A motion to go into closed session.
Mayor McClellan, as you just making a note, there is a change. That would be Oak Park Crown Point.
Crown
LLC
Point
versus City of Oak Park. That's a Michigan tax tribunal case. So that's a change.
Thank you.
And Mayor, if I could just just to explain the logistics a little bit, since we do open back up to the regular meeting, we can put anyone who wants to stay to watch the meeting close out in the waiting room, which essentially kind of keeps them in the meeting but out of the meeting. So they're not. So we're adhering to the Closed Meetings Act, so we're adhering to closed meetings, and then we will also turn off the live on YouTube. While you guys are in closed session. So for anyone who wants to leave, please feel free to leave. But if you do want to stick around for the end of the meeting, when you come back out of closed session, we can just put you in the waiting room.
There's no other business but approving the minutes of the closed session. So if you leave now, you're not going to miss much. Thank you.
All right.
Yes, we need to know when it's okay to start. When are we?
Motion to go into closed session.
We need.
Second.
That's Regina Weiss. And is there a second?
Councilmember Radner seconded.
Radner.